Good morning. After a holiday break, and we will have another holiday break coming up, we are going to work through another hand. Pocket eights, under the gun. I think this is a pretty standard open raise. Should probably be EP, playing from EP2 since we're only 8-handed instead of 9, but we're the first stack, so we're going to be playing a pretty tight range. This is what GTO recommends. It's probably what I would have done was probably have these in there, maybe 6-5. That's a possibility as well. So only one player calls. This player here, mid position player, he's playing 37-2, definitely looks loose, passive. I've got a 3-bet range of aces, 4-bet range. I have a limp called at 7s, ace-2 off. Probably if he limps, he's gonna play it. So I'm gonna guess he's a little bit tighter with calling a raise than with just limping in. His VPIP in mid position is 28%. You can see that 37% kind of starts getting in, button, small blind, big blind. These are really increasing his stat, that VPIP stat. So the question is, how do we build his range? Well, I started with about a 25%. I think it's between 25 and 30. Could be down to like 20 if he's just calling a raise, but go a little bit wider. I started adding in some hands, really added in these offsuit hands to bring us back up to about 28. Made sure we had our suited connectors, suited 1-gappers. I do believe he has suited aces. We'll leave ace-9 off. I think this is a decent range. I took off aces. I mean, he did 3-bet, so I think he's going to 3-bet with aces. For kings, I put him at 50%. Maybe he 3-bets with kings, maybe he doesn't. We just don't know. We only have 63 hands on him. So we take a river of king 8-3, which is good. Now we could have, just looked at this and passed up the hand as saying, well, we flop trips. That's, this will be an easy hand to play. But I'm thinking about our range here and saying this tends to be a generally dry board. Not connected, king high. King should hit our range. I think villain's gonna miss, and we're out of position. How do we maneuver? What should be our c-betting strategy going forward? Well, I don't think this player's going to be catching a whole lot. If we were to bet, we could look at it full to c-bet. It's actually pretty high. I only think this player is going to call if he connects with the board. So probably a top pair or middle pair type play. We don't really have straights or flushes out. So, overall, if we just restrict it to middle pair plus, it's 33.7%. If we add pocket pair below that second card in the bottom pair, goes up to 41.7. I don't think so. I think it's even questionable whether or not he plays with a middle pair on this king high board. So I kind of feel like if I bet, he's going to probably, and he calls, he's probably going to have the king. That's against this player, looser players. Some other players are going to probably call one off just to see what's going to come on the turn card. So, they could call, if they called with ace jack or ace 10, they might call once just to see if they can catch that pair. So what is our plan with our c-betting? Well, I think we're going to have c-bet for value. We're going to have c-bets for bluff. For value, definitely, I think we're going to be top pair. And then I think for bluffs will all be these low cards. Probably no made hand, like all of these no made hands. But I mean, do we do all of them, or just do 2-card backdoor flush draws? If we do the 2-card backdoor flush draws, we have to get rid of the pairs from them because they're actually being bet for value at this point. The mid pairs are betting really kind of as a semi-bluff. We don't mind if villain folds hands that could have picked up. Is there ever a chance to check? It's a good question. I do. I think this could be a board where we sometimes check here. Our range is definitely stronger. Our range hits this, but we don't really have anything else moving forward. So I think if we bet, if we think villain's going to call with way too many hands, we lean towards betting. If we think he calls with only a few hands, I think we lean towards checking. I don't think we check raise this because I don't think we plan to check raise because I don't think villain's strong enough, or I should say aggressive enough to bet here. So let's see what I do. I checked. So my assumption probably is that villain's going to have a lot of hands that he's just going to dump. We're going to try to go for some value. So if we're going to do that, then we're going to be checking basically our entire range here. And to see what villain's going to do. Do I think villain's going to bet? I just said no. I think an aggressive player like this isn't going to be betting at all. If we look at float, let's see here. On the flop, I guess we bet 30%. I guess maybe he has some on there. He donks. So it'd be like 25%. So I guess there's a possibility that he would bet. If he bets, I think it's just straight up top pair plus. That's about it. So he does bet, which is good, and actually bets fairly large. So I'm gonna go this. I'm gonna say he is at top pair. We have all of our checking. We have our entire range. I don't think there's enough to check. I think he is now representing his king. If I raise here, check raise, I think it's gonna give him a reason to get away from his hand. Yeah, he might call now this one hand, but then he's probably gonna fold if I bet again, and that's he'll fold. Let's see here. He would fold. I think King Jack, King 10, King 9. Passive player, non-aggressive player. Maybe. So with our hand, I think we just check call here. We call overpair. We call top pair. And I do think we're calling here just for the chance that I might be wrong and we're missing some of these. So if we go back to here, we could say, well, there's a chance that I've missed that he has one of these no-made hands. I mean, always a chance that he has some of those. I don't think he has these hands. Could have a middle pair. Is he strong enough to bet the no-made hand? That's a question. So could he be betting that? And if so, then we're calling with pocket pairs and the middle pairs just to see where he's at and possibly take away a hand here. Take away, get him to fold. I think we just fold this second card, pocket pair, let's say 5s, 6s, and 7s. I mean, it could be used kind of as a bluff. And then our 2-card backdoor flush draws, I think we're looking at some of these combos. Maybe the combo draw, something like that. I think we could call. And we're doing this just speculatively. The idea with these hands is that we check call, we checked him on the turn. If he checks behind, then a lot of these hands we're just going to fire at the pot, and we're going to try to represent a king, because this is a fairly dry board. Villain's not expected to hit it. I should know that. He should be aware that's going on. I think weaker players forget. I know I would have forgotten about it, but I'm now starting, as I'm playing more of these 25 NL games, I'm seeing more and more players take the line that I'm taking. So he checked, I called. We're good. 7 of clubs. We continue. We check. If he bets, we are now back to our top pair plus, and the question now becomes, if he bets, would he call if we raise? Would he call if we raise, or would he just fold his hand? If we think he would call, we would go for a check raise. I guess we go for a check raise with sets and 2 pairs. And then we have our flush draw, and possibly, and maybe our gut shot as our check raising range. We had overpair and top pair as our calls. I think if he fires again, we're beat to the king. So I think we fold everything else. And I like the idea with that flush draw and gut shot to check raise it, kind of represent it. Maybe we get him to fold some of his top pair hands, maybe some of his like king 9, king 10, because he's going to give us credit for having, you know, a better kicker. And that works out. If he folds, hey, that's great. If he doesn't, we still have outs. So we check. I think that's appropriate. Now villain checks behind. At this point, we have our entire range still. At this, or at least our entire range that we had on the turn. I don't think villain has a set. I think he would have bet. I don't think he has 2 pair. I think his top pair, I think we're going to get rid of ace king. And I think we're going to give something like 50% to king queen. Because he may be passive enough to where he's worried. He's saying monsters under the bed that maybe I have ace king, which I don't think he has. But we're going to give him everything else here as his checking hand. And now that he checks, we are going to lead the river. We're going to lead the river basically with our hand. Only time we might not is if we have like ace king. Maybe aces. We've got some showdown value hand. And, you know, if it's a club, maybe. Because we don't have a club. But I think at this point we are safely ahead. King of clubs comes out. That's actually a pretty good hand for us. Because if he has king, he's going to call us. And I think any king's going to call us at this point. I don't think he's going to be scared of any sort of being outkicked. It's like the king 9, king 10. He's calling no matter what. So at this point, I think we bet. I think we just go ahead and we bet the pot. We be aggressive. I think we're getting huge number of folds here, and I think that is why we are just going to be betting with basically everything that we have here. And it's going to seem like we're over betting. But you can see just with our range at this point, 77% to 22%. We have some pretty strong range advantage. So I think with that, if he folds, that's okay. Because I do think he's got some of these middle pairs that beat us with our weak pairs. So I don't even bother with like trying to check, go for a showdown with these. I think we just go ahead and lead it. Only times we might not is this pocket pairs less than the top card, 9s, 10s, jacks, and queens. I think that's a situation where villain could have those as well. Right, he could have these. I guess did we drop it? I thought I included it still. Yeah, we gave him. Oh yeah. No, we said he was gonna check. Yeah, okay. We're gonna go with it. Say that he doesn't. If we think he was gonna bet with those hands, like he's aggressive enough to where he's basically gonna bet with any playable hand, those cards, those pocket pairs will be included in it. So if they're included, I think we have justification for kind of checking with like queens and jacks, because I think we've got showdown value hand, but betting with nines and tens to try to get like jacks and queens to fold. So kind of check with queens and jacks and bets with nines and jacks. So that's kind of what I should be doing, betting pot. Let's see if I did. I actually bet over pot, which might not be bad. We're kind of representing a strong hand or a complete miss that, maybe he shows weakness, so we're gonna overbet it. Try to get him to fold. He might get curious with a king. What does he do? He calls it. I actually don't mind that overbet. I don't mind it at all. Once he calls it, I think it's 3 of a kind full house. And that's 17%. I think those are the hands that we're looking to get paid. Maybe even the flush. I should say, I said full house. I think the flush. I think he calls. So that's cool. So I showed 8. She shows king queen, which is in that 50%. If you remember that king queen, I said he could see monsters under the bed with that king queen. So we had a sand. We won that. That's pretty good. Let's check GTO. All right, GTO's done. And let's check the solve real quick. All right, so GTO has me betting 85.9% of the time. I thought that was about right. When we talked about it, our range is going to be a little bit better. I think villain's going to have a lot of hands that he gets rid of, so it's just we're betting. There are some hands that we could check, and it's these pairs: queens, jacks, tens, nines. But overall, this looks like we should be betting here. And then villain should be raising with like 2 pair plus. Top pair, he's going to have some raises with king queen. Kind of surprised that he's calling with like pocket pair less than the top card. I think being in position, this could be a spot where we could raise with under pairs, could raise with 8s, could raise with, let's say, pocket 6s if we had those in our range. But then he would call. So let's say we bet and he calls. And then we had 7 of clubs that came out. On the 7 of clubs, then we would be betting in this situation. So we are betting under 50% of the time. We're still betting our top pair over pair. 2 pairs going for a bet is going for a check raise. We got flush draw we're betting. Ace high hands sometimes we're betting. Those are going to be used for some bluffs. 3 of a kind, we've got a mix between betting and checking. So we're betting the kings, but we're checking 8s and 7s. 7s have some checks. So I wonder if we bet or if we check, he bets. If we're using those for raises, we are for check raising. 2 pairs somewhat is a check raise. Yeah, because the only 2 pair we'd have would be 8-7. So the 8s we go for a check raise against a GTO player. Let's go back to see what happens if we check. Villain bets, and we have calls. At this point, if we did have a bet, you can see we should be check raising here. So maybe we should be check raising GTO, but still, I mean, what's villain betting? He's betting his top pair hands. It's kind of betting what I would have predicted he would have bet. Yeah, there's chances that he has some of these weaker hands. And we still called. So let's give us a call here. Then once we checked, we are checking again. He bets. Well, he checks. And this was king of clubs. And then you see us betting. So at least our line, our checking, we call and then we check and then lead out. That looks okay. Question though is our bet sizing okay? And we'd have to really kind of dig down and say, okay, these are the ranges on the river. These are the different bet sizes. Let's see what we can do. And we could investigate that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Go back here. We had 7. Okay, so this is his range. We're gonna need the river, our pot size here. Okay, so this is his range. We're gonna copy that. And that's gonna go to here. And then I get to my range. Because in theory, I should have all the hands that I have playable. We still have that tree. Our starting pot now has changed. So we are at 15.9, and now our effective stacks are, we'll say 95. Okay. We're gonna do advanced. We are out of possession. And now we want to lead out. This is what we want to check. Get this overed. We could do, let's do 50%. 50. Oops. I don't know if, I think we're going to do 50. We're going to do, let's do 75, 100, 200 pot. All right. Let's build the tree. Tree's built. Let's go in and edit it. So we can edit tree. We're going to import it. All right, so we checked. He bet. We called. All right. Call. Okay, and then we had a check, and he checked. And just to check, oops. No, that did not work. So we will bet. Enter bet size. We're going to do 50%. Well, I guess we can, it was 17.5, so we'll go like 9. Oh, hold on, cancel. Let's go back. This did not take. Maybe 50%. 75%, 100%. Now all of that, it's all there. Out of position leads out. First bet. Let's try to import it again. Oh, whoops. I guess our starting pot is 7.5. And we said 100. All right, I'm going to pause it and I'm going to work with this. All right, so that worked. Let's go to the build tree. I set his default bet at 66% because that was closer to his bet sizing. Still a little large, probably need to make it like 60%. But putting in, eliminating with only 2 bets left, get the money in smoothly, undo that. And then I just had these percentages. Just once I build the tree, they worked. So I went back, did the check, he bet, I called difference between 4.95, that works. We checked, and now I get my entire betting tree. So we accepted changes, we confirmed it. We're going to run the solver and we will come back when it's done. All right, that actually went pretty fast. So we've got 7 of clubs here. Check, king of clubs. Now we've got our plan. So it looks like checking here, 48%, betting small, 41%. So very few bets that will get us there. Definitely check, and I bet these are going for check raises. Check because villain should be betting his hands, and then we go for a check raise with the 8. So that's what he wants. That's what GTO wants. But you can see our ace high hands are betting. We're betting about half. We're betting that half pot, that 50%. Looks like ace highs are betting. No made hands are betting. Pocket pair less than the top card, so like 10s, jacks, queens. Those are betting. 9s are checking. So I said I had like 9 and 10 we're going to check because we have some showdown value of GTO saying we should check just 9s and bets the 10s, jacks, queens. We're betting kings, we're betting aces. Some of the aces are checking as well. I bet those are also going to be check raising. Nah, actually it's going to go for a check fold. So bet, and then we've got some check folds there. Ace, queen. So of our big bets, that's what I'm curious, our over bets. We're really looking at over betting some of the full houses. The few percentage that we have, I mean, we've got a small percentage. Flushes, we're not, it's actually pretty small chance that we're going to be doing this. And we do have some ace highs to balance. If we go to like just a regular pot size, same type of deal. We're adding a few more, like three of a kind hands. So definitely the overbet. We are skewed. Not skewed. We are bimodal. We are very polarized in our bets here. We're looking at full house flush or ace high. Very rarely will we have like an under pair. If we go to a pot size, we're expanding that polarization, so we're going to have a few more in our value range, few more in our bluffing range. If we do like 75%, Looks like we're at about the same one, but it looks like our best play is probably to better check here with our 8s. Go for a check raise, probably get more value from our hand, because villain's going to be betting somewhat. 3 of a kind flush. We're going for those hands because it's going to be hard for him to fold those. He can fold 3 of a kinds. I bet a lot of players don't. I mean, well, take that back. The flush was on the table. What if we change this? What if we change it from King of Clubs to a King of Hearts? Does that change anything? Yeah, now that changes it. Now it looks like we're favoring more of a pot size bet here with most of our range. That includes the 8. So maybe that King of Clubs, since it not only paired the board, paired the top card, it also gives a flush draw, kind of shifts how we're going to be playing that, which seems interesting. Well, this is a long video. I'm going to end this. We saw how to kind of go about doing this. Could we do the same thing with the turn? Yeah, we could. Look at turn sizes. Could we do it with the flop? Yeah, we can. I found the issue with the flop is that it has the entire tree afterwards, after us, that really slows things down. So with every bet on, if we go back to our tree, with every bet here, if this was the flop, we have trees that go for the turn and the river and so forth. So it just becomes absolutely massive. But I do like how this works. So if we go river distribution, let's see what this looks like. So our river hands, if we look at all the cards that could come, you can see that our equity is still pretty decent, pretty solid. Heat maps. The worst cards for us are these. Worst cards for our range anyways. King's pretty good, Queen's pretty good. Low cards are pretty good for our ranges, based on our hand here. And you could see that, depending on what cards come, we could kind of sort. We're looking at, Queen of Diamonds. Queens are good. Basically, the non-clubs are pretty good. We're going to be betting overbet with our queens. Minus the club. Maybe 3s. 2s. Aces could be decent. Pot size bets. The non-club kings looks to be, maybe our 4s and 5s. 2/3. We're not really betting that. So it looks to be more of like, or 75%, I should say. It looks like it's more of like half pot. Jack can work. Some of the kings would work. Half pot for all of the lower cards. So I think that looks. There's our distribution based on the various cards that could come. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this hand. This is a long one. Looked at some GTO, and we'll probably look at some bet sizing again, just kind of reinforce how to do it. All right, hopefully you enjoyed. If you do, look tomorrow for another.